Hi, welcome to True Mouse Games. My name is Alex, and tonight I can share with you our newest project. Lost Dice is a simple narrative rule system that is suited for pretty much all types of settings. During game testing, I have personally run 4 different settings with Lost Dice, and they were quite different from each other. On the one hand, we had a Wild West style cowboy versus samurai setting. We had a Bronze-aged high fantasy setting, we had a superhero setting set in our modern world, and we had a very anime-like League of Legends type setting. And Lost Dice performed admirably and managed to handle all these settings quite well in a very interesting way. If you're interested in checking out Lost Dice, it is available right now on DriveThruRPG, of course, and you'll find the link as always in the description underneath the video. Now you might ask, what makes Lost Dice different? What makes it unique from all those other game systems that are out there? Let's talk about this a little bit. At the core of the game of Lost Dice stand 2 principles and their interaction with each other. On the one hand, we have a very strong narrative gameplay. On the other hand, we have a large element of risk management involved into the game. And when these 2 principles combine, that is when you get Lost Dice, basically. How does this work in detail? Every character in Lost Dice has 6 different attributes. 4 of these attributes all characters share with each other. Every character has those specific 4 attributes. The other 2 are unique attributes that every player can basically make up for their own character. At the start of character creation, after these 6 attributes have been established, every player gets a large dice pool filled with d4s, d6s, d8s, d10s, and d12s, and then distributes these dice, this pool, to all the different attributes. The more dice an attribute has, and the higher dice are in the attribute, the better the attribute is. So d10s and d12s are the best dice to have, basically. Every check that a player character makes uses 2 or 3 of those attributes. Which attributes specifically are used, that's up to the player. So the player has to say to their GM, this is what my player character is trying to accomplish, and I'm using these 2, sometimes 3, specific attributes in a combination to achieve it, and I'm using them in this way. So this is where the narrative aspect comes in. Depending on what attributes are used, both the attempt itself and the potential outcome can differ from a similar check, but using 2 other attributes. And that difference can be quite strong. To give you an example, imagine an intimidation check. A player character is trying to intimidate an NPC, and the player says, okay, I'm gonna use my might attributes and my unique crazy attribute, which means that my character will pick up the NPC, lift him up, look him in the eye with a crazy grin, and just sort of shake him until he tells me what I want. Another intimidation attempt might be a player character using mind and charm, basically trying to, a bit of Don Vito Corleone style, I guess, sort of stay calm and just speak facts, not as threats, more as promises. State facts and remain charming at the same time, and with that intimidate an NPC into telling them what they want to know. Now both the NPC's reaction and the attempt itself will, as you I'm sure will agree, differ from each other quite strongly. This is one part of the narrative gameplay aspect. There's a bit more to it, but I can't go into that in too much detail right here. The second core principle that I mentioned, the risk management factor, comes into effect after the player has stated, okay, I'm using these 2 attributes and I'm using this many dice from this attribute and this many dice from this attribute. Then they roll all these dice, and the 2 highest numbers on all those dice are put together, and that makes up the success number. The higher the success number is, the better the action has succeeded. However, every die that rolls the lowest possible number or the highest possible number on that specific die is lost, which is also where the rule system's name, Lost Dice, comes from. So if you say roll a d10, you basically have a chance of 2 out of 10, so 1/5, to lose that die. If you roll 1 or a 10, a d6 has a chance of 2 out of 6, so 1/3 to be lost. So the higher the dice, the more difficult it is to lose them. But if they are lost, it is very hard to regain those high dice, so to speak. So in every attempt that a player character makes, the player has to do some risk management in their head, saying, okay, how difficult will this check potentially be? How much do I want to risk to succeed in it? Because you could roll really well and have a really good check, but you might also lose several of your high dice during such a check. So how many dice you roll and what dice you roll is a very important decision that you have made in every check. And once all the dice are lost, the character is out in one way or the other. This is of course not all there is to lost dice. These are the core principles, however. We have included some other stuff, of course, in the game system itself. Things like rules for equipment, so-called bursts of power, the dark side that every character has, and the rules for what happens when that dark side is unleashed. And some other things. Lost Dice is designed to be modular, so you could break it down, remove everything except for the very core that I've told you, and just play with that. Or you can use several of these optional advanced rules, if you so will, or even come up with your own, which should be fairly simple in such a straightforward and modular rule system as Lost Dice is. Once again, Lost Dice is now available on DriveThruRPG. Click the link underneath the video if you want to check it out. And if you do check it out, please let me know what you think. I'm really looking forward to any feedback that you guys might have. Even though the game has been playtested quite a bit, the playtesting is never really done. So if you have some ideas for potential advanced rules, or you come up with some special stuff that you might think will help the game immensely yourself, then please let me know. As always, Trumas Games, thank you for watching, and until we see each other again, good luck with your own games. Bye bye, and don't lose too many dice.